Hey book girlies, I'm Sarah.
Hey gamer guys, it's Ian.
And you're listening to a pot of sass and sarcasm. Are you gonna just stare at me?
Yeah, you're just staring at me.
Ian, it's your segment. You start us off. Tell us what games you've been playing without me having to tell you what games, or ask you what games you've been playing.
But I want you to ask me.
Oh my god. You're so demanding. Oh god. All right, Ian. What's been going on in your life?
You know, the usual work things.
Yeah. Machines breaking.
Instruments.
That's pedantic as fuck.
No, there's a difference.
Mm.
They are instruments.
Tomatoes.
No, there's a difference.
Tell me the difference.
Instruments measure things. Machines do not.
If that's what the machine is designed to do.
Then it becomes an instrument.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, fine. Anything else new and exciting in your life?
No. Well, I say that, but I have been playing a new game.
All right, what's this new? Is this the one that you've been playing on your phone?
No, I wasn't really going to talk about phone games.
Why not? Because that one seems to capture your attention quite a lot of the time.
It's just a daily thing.
All right, okay, so what's this new game that you've been playing not on your phone?
I decided to try out a new ARPG. It's called Grim Dawn.
Okay, we need to rewind for 2 seconds. ARPG?
Yeah.
What's the A?
Action.
Why does that have a distinguisher?
I don't know.
Like, as opposed to what other kind of role-playing game is there?
The rest of them.
The rest of them are not action?
Well, there's CRPGs.
Which is?
Computer RPGs.
You're fucking me right now.
And there's just general role-playing games that don't involve combat. But computer RPGs got turned into combat RPGs, I think, at some point in time. Anyway, pedantics.
I feel like it is very disorganized.
Well, there's lots of buckets, and the buckets overlap. Because the buckets are used to describe how the game plays. Mm-hmm. And it's an art. Like, it's an artistic endeavor. So it's kind of ephemeral in a way.
All right, tell me about this ephemeral RPG.
What a perfect word I used, because you start the game.
In a pile of corpses?
No, being trapped in essentially like a demon circle.
Ooh, okay.
And you are possessed.
Ooh.
You are possessed, and the thing possessing you is shit-talking the guys that captured it.
Nice.
And then they managed to expel the demon from you. I'm going to call it a demon.
Okay. Are these guys, are they affiliated with any, like, religious organization?
I didn't get really far into it, but one of them is, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
They're kind of like a priest.
Yeah, I would expect that if we're talking about demons in, like, I don't know, the traditional Catholic sense. That's interesting.
So, the demon runs away, and while the demon is leaving, after the demon has left your body, they're like, no, don't kill him. He's a human now. And so they save your life, and then they're like, wow, so I saved your life, and you're basically already a dead man. I need you to do some tasks for me.
Okay.
To prove that you're not still possessed.
What, just drink some holy water or some shit?
No, you have to go and kill some people.
What?
Because the setting of this world is post-apocalyptic, but like fantasy.
Okay.
Like the apocalypse.
The apocalypse.
Like the apocalypse has happened in like the 1700s type of deal.
Okay. But that was not at all what my question was. My question is, how does killing people prove that you are not possessed? Do demons not kill people?
Because the demons are their own faction, and they're trying to take over the whole world, and you're part of the sliver of humanity trying to expel the demons, essentially.
Why do I feel like I'm going to be on the side of the demons this whole game?
No.
I feel like the demons are being demonized, if you will, and I think they're innocent.
You're wrong.
Okay.
So on the first thing you do is just kind of go out and like take care of some zombies, because that's what happens to the dead here. They become zombies.
Are they still possessed by demons?
Kind of. Anyway, so
What is this game?
Grim Dawn.
Does this have anything to do with 20 minutes till dawn? Or is it just
No.
dawn is just a popular time for game titles?
This is a popular thing, I guess.
I guess, okay.
So I've basically made it through Act 1 and part of Act 2. Act 1 is you're trying to establish yourself with this group, this resistance group, take over the prison. And
The prison?
Yep, because it's like one of the only sturdy, safe buildings still standing.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, when the Grim Dawn happened, the dude running the prison disappeared, and we found some weird books here. We think he may have had a hand in initiating the Grim Dawn. And they're like, all right, go and find his books. He's somewhere in the town over there and figure it out. So they send you out again. You find this, you kill lots of stuff. You come back and they're like, there's a secret lab of his under the mansions. Go to the mansions and go under there. And it's a huge area, and he's been doing experiments on the prisoners and people. And when you finally find him, he's been blessed, in quotes. He's been blessed by the demons, so he's more powerful, but you end up killing him anyway.
Interesting.
So that's basically what happens Act 1. You kind of get to know the town and develop a little bit, gather some resources, and they kind of explain the setting a little bit to you. And then they're like, okay, so there's this guy was involved in this, and now we need to like secure food. Is the beginning of Act 2. Secure some food, save some farmers.
What was that voice you
What
just
was that
did?
voice? Rather, I don't know.
Were you just possessed?
I was the farm. I was possessed by John Deere himself.
All right.
But I mostly just wanted to try out another ARPG while I was waiting for a more popular one to fully release.
What does that mean, fully released? Is
There's-
there a partial release?
Yeah, it's called Early Access, so you can buy it and start playing it before they finish.
Okay.
I'm not about that, really.
What game are you waiting for to be fully released?
Path of Exile 2.
Okay. That one sounds familiar. I feel like we've talked about Path of Exile before.
Yeah, we have.
Not on the pod, though.
We might have, actually.
Have we?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think we have.
But about the game a little bit more. I haven't talked about my feelings about this game.
Okay, tell me about your feelings.
It's a pretty interesting mechanics that they have going on. The movement is not very good, in my opinion. It's just very clunky, and it's hard to like control where your character is moving and attacking. You have to do a lot of customization to like get it to behave in a way that's acceptable.
Maybe that's what the demons have to go through when they possess you, is that they're like, man, this is really clunky. I don't know how to fucking move this thing.
Man, this freaking meat sack.
Yeah, I feel like maybe you as the player are actually a demon.
Yeah, that gels.
Ew, what did you just say to me? You did not just say that gels. What
That
the
gels.
fuck does that mean? What Gen Alpha fucking slang is that?
It's not Gen Alpha slang.
Is it Gen X still?
I don't fucking know.
What is that? What
It's
is it?
from the silent generation, actually. I just want I'm just talking out my ass right now.
I was like, what the fuck? So you don't like the movement of the characters because it's kind of clunky.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you do like?
The way you can build your characters is very interesting, because usually games like this, you have like one skill tree that you're kind of building off of. This one automatically allows you to build off of 2 of them, and you independently level them up. And so you have a hybrid, or you can ignore the second one and just go really into one of them.
Okay.
Are you gonna tell me about the?
I'm waiting to see if there's anything more, because it feels like sometimes I'm gonna start a sentence. You're like, I wasn't done talking about my game.
I'm done talking about the game. It wasn't very good. 6 out of 10.
Oh wow, that's pretty lame.
It's okay.
All right. Well, I did want to tell our listeners, I don't know why I feel like it's important to let them know where we're at with like our recording process, but I just thought it's maybe important if we sound any different. I don't think we should, but it has been about a month since the last time we recorded. Things just got unreasonably busy, and honestly, I didn't even have time to read. I haven't read this book in about a month. The last time we recorded was the last time that I had read. So it's been a while. And it's really just been kind of upsetting because I've been having a lot of fun with this book. I just haven't had time to open it. But now that things have calmed down a little bit, I was finally able to pick it up again. And luckily, I didn't forget what was going on, because that does happen to me sometimes. And I would have been really frustrated if I would have had to been like, so we need to pause for a little bit while I like reread the shit that I just did. But luckily, I don't have to do that. I think
you remember it because you're still editing episodes.
I think that has to be part of it, is that I still remember what's going on, because even if I didn't remember what was going on, I have myself to remind me about the stuff that's going on. I was also telling that to Bree a little bit ago. This was, a month ago or so, when we were working on The Nightingale still, and the final episodes had just come out. And she's like, I am so sorry for recommending such an awfully heavy book for you, especially on the pod. And I'm really sorry about that. And I was like, Brie, don't worry about it. I actually, like, with some distance from it, I can really respect that book. Being in it really sucked. And being in it in the middle of winter was maybe like the worst idea of my life. But here's the thing. If I'm ever tempted to reread it, because I do like rereading books sometimes, all I have to do is hit, I think it was episode 23, 22, something like that. I just have to hit play on that episode and be like, nope, I'm good. I don't need to read it again.
Don't need to be reminded.
So it's like, it's a good thing. But yeah, I also realize that, I'm really extra immersing myself into these books. And on the bright side, we're not going to be insanely ahead of schedule with our recording, because we started off where we were about 2 weeks ahead of the release schedule, where we would record about 2 weeks before it was released, which was, plenty of time for me to get things edited. And then I don't know what happened, because we even got to a point where we were releasing 2 episodes a week for only like 2 or 3 weeks. But like, even so, we were recording well ahead of schedule so that we could try that twice a week release schedule. And we got to be like a month ahead of recording, or ahead of our release schedule. We were recording a month early. And that was crazy. So now we're back to being about 2 weeks ahead of schedule.
Yeah, because I think we were recording 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times a week.
And that was when I just got really into the book and put all of my other obligations aside. And I was like, I need to tell you about this right now. But I don't know. Writing my notes has also been taking longer than usual. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, so yeah, now we're kind of at a point where hopefully we can at least record once a week, if not a couple times a week. But yeah, I don't want to be a month ahead of schedule again. That was kind of ridiculous. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we're like 2 weeks ahead of schedule and things are good. And so now we're like in the current time with you guys. It's great. Also, we've got some weird but exciting updates. So we recently hit 500 streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's so awesome. And first of all, thank you so much to our listeners for listening to us. That is so great. If I'm being honest, I was pretty sure nobody was going to listen to this podcast except for maybe Brie. Like, Brie was one of the people that really, like, supported and encouraged me to really think about putting this into a podcast.
Just to give it a try.
And so I was like, it's going to be me and Brie listening to this to this pod, and that's okay with me. So the fact that we have 500 streams, that's not just me and Brie. There's no way I could listen to myself 500 times. That's, and I don't think Brie likes me that much, to listen to me that many times. So that's really exciting. And that just means that you guys are giving us a try, which I know that we're maybe an acquired taste. I think we're hilarious. But I really appreciate it. And especially after having The Nightingale as our second book that we cover on the pod. Like, yeah, you guys have stuck through some really rough stuff.
Very.
Thank you. It's very humbling to us, and it never ceases to amaze me anyways, but I think you are also always amazed when I show you our Spotify analytics. You're like, that's crazy that people listen to us.
More than just our close friends are listening. What the heck?
Because on top of that, we also had a sudden influx of multiple countries listening to us. Because before, when we first started, we obviously had people in the United States because we're in the United States. I'm not sure if that's shocking to anybody. We started off with one Canadian listener who was the author of the book that we were covering. And then we had a couple of other Canadian listeners join onto that. And we had like one person in Russia. And that was it for the longest time. We had those 3 countries on our list of countries that have logged into our episodes. And then suddenly, like 2 days ago, we had like 29 countries. And then when I opened it up this morning, we have 35 countries listening to us.
Yeah. Sometimes that makes me think that it's just like one or two people that have a VPN.
I was thinking that. I was like,
on like auto change or something.
Yeah, there's part of me that's like, there's got to be some kind of glitch in the system that's doing that. But also with the fact that we now suddenly have 500 streams, like that's.
But I think it's cool.
I think it's great. I also found it highly coincidental that we have 2 listeners in France. It's interesting because I can get some specifics about where these people are listening. I can't figure out how to see which episodes they're listening to, but I can see where in France they are. And there's one person who's from the Loire Valley, which is where Carriveau, which is a fictional city, but like Carriveau is supposed to be somewhere in the Loire Valley. That's a big coincidence. And then on top of it, there's one person in Ile-de-France, which is just outside of Paris. And I'm like, we just read The Nightingale and we talked about the Loire Valley a little bit. We talked about Paris. So it's interesting that we've got like one person in each location. And so I know I've been telling people, I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I can't tell if it's a glitch in the system or what it is, because it's like, did Spotify push it to these people specifically because they're in the areas that we were talking about? Like, is there some kind of like AI thing? But the other thing that I am thinking of with a little bit of hindsight on this is what I've noticed that Spotify does is that if I am listening to a podcast and I've reached the last episode of that podcast, instead of just going quiet when that episode finishes, it'll skip to another podcast that's like similar vibes or whatever, and that people have like rated similarly and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if this sudden influx of a bunch of countries is because people in other countries were listening to other podcasts that might be like book related or comedy or entertainment or something, and then Spotify was for whatever reason deciding to push our podcast to them, and so they started listening to us.
That's exciting.
That is exciting.
I'm going to think it's that.
I'm going to hope that's what it was. That is more fun rather than some kind of like glitch or VPN issue. Like, I'm really hoping it is that we have real people that are listening to us. Anyways, sorry, we've been talking for a while.
Only 33 minutes.
It's all right. It's fine. So anyways, I feel good about this podcast and where it's at. And we're really hoping to get better and do more with it, and we can only do that so long as we have an audience to do that. So we really seriously greatly appreciate everybody who's listening. So thank you so much for listening, and I just feel like this is such a great way to get back into the swing of things, to get back recording, to doing this podcast. So knowing that we have a quickly growing audience, I'm just motivated to make more episodes, and I think we should get into it.
Give me the wonderful recap. Cut that out. I didn't like that.
I just want to leave it in just to be an asshole. All right, so quick recap because it's been a while. We are continuing Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. The story follows Gav, a dark wizard who lost his memories to a knowledge demon in the midst of an evil plot. As he pieces back together his life and his plans, he realizes that he doesn't like being evil, and he wants to take his amnesia as a blank slate or a fresh start. And while he struggles to be a truly good person, he recognizes that he can be a better person than Dreadlord Gavrex ever was. However, he's in way over his head, with a kidnapped princess and her father sending heroes to rescue her and offering a bounty on Gav's head, 3 other dark wizards who will be performing a dark ritual involving the princess and demon seed, of course hosted at Gav's place, where else? And don't forget about the garlic festival to help raise money and trade enough garlic for other foods to last Gav's pathetic little village through another winter. Last time, Gav had offered to start teaching the princess magic, and she also happened to riddle out that Gav lost his memories. You had no idea who he was, did you? He jerked away from her so hard he nearly fell over. What do you mean? Zaxxas is one of my oldest friends. There's something wrong with you. Eliasha narrowed her eyes. You're not what I would expect a dark wizard to be. She cocked her head and took a step forward. To his shame, he skittered backwards. You're surprised constantly by things you ought to know. You fumble your way through talking to people you're clearly supposed to be familiar with. You don't recognize your own belongings, but you know what to do with them as soon as you see them. Your staff is constantly surprised too, like you never do what they expect. None of your actions line up with the first night I was here, she continued. There's no reason why you would kidnap me and then try to make me into an ally. At first I thought it was a trap, but it's not, is it? You have no idea what you're doing. A knowledge demon, you said, she mused. His breath caught in his throat. How much did he take? How much of your memory is gone? All of it, he said bleakly. What do you mean all of it? She said cautiously. He shrugged. Why hide now? Everything. From the beginning. I don't even remember my name. Dreadlord Gavrax, supplied Grr Beetle helpfully. What's the first thing you do remember? Eliasha inquired. Waking up with no eyebrows, he said. And then visiting you. Huh. So you don't even know why you captured me in the first place. I have some guesses. None of them good, he admitted. So, they talk for a bit, having this little heart-to-heart and like trying to figure some stuff out. This discussion also leans a little bit more into the appearances versus practicality of things. Like Eliasha takes a moment because she eventually feels like very weak in the knees because she feels kind of helpless. And she sits in Gavrex's chair and is like, this thing is really not comfortable. And Gav is like, no, it's not, but it looks menacing. And it's the only way people seem to take me seriously. If you look the part, that's when people will take you seriously. So anyways, they're having this deeply philosophical conversation about why Gav made the decorating choices that he did, how functionally these things are quite useless, but they add to the menacing aesthetic. And man, Grr just kind of, he makes my heart hurt because he pipes up when because like they mention like the lanterns, they mention the like decor, they mention all this kind of stuff, and Gav's like, yeah, it's useless, but it's menacing. And then Grr Beetle is like, what about the goblins? Are we useless? And that just made my heart sink because I'm like, Grr Beetle, you're not useless. You're so precious. And Gav and Eliasha froze. They were trying to think of a way to break it to him that, yeah, the goblins won't do much to stop anyone from doing anything, but they look spooky. And in the middle of this, like they're about to say, hey, Grr Beetle, yeah, you're kind of useless. A man bursts into the room and tries to kill Gav.
Oh. Was not expecting this.
The door blew open. It didn't take much. The poor thing was barely hanging onto the wall as it was after all it had been through, but the powerful gust of wind smashed it to matchsticks. It seemed the fate of all doors in this castle. A slightly shocked young man in very shiny wizard's robes stood with his hand outstretched. A splash of blood had sprayed across his hem, and Gav hoped against hope that the guard it must have belonged to had survived. Where is the princess, foul wretch? The boy demanded, his voice cracking slightly. I also personally imagine that he has a little bit of a lisp, so sorry, I'm going to give him a lisp with the rest of my readings. Where is the princess, foul wretch? The boy demanded, his voice cracking slightly. The accent was odd. He had dark golden skin and shiny black hair that hailed from somewhere warmer and further away. Grr Beetle was right in the line of fire. Gav tried to sidle around him unobtrusively. We don't have to do this. Unfortunately, that just drew the young wizard's gaze downwards. He snarled at the young goblin and flicked a wrist. Another gust of wind yanked the bird skull off the shelf, burying it deep into the little valet's torso.
Aww.
Gav caught him as he fell. You didn't have to do that, Eliasha stared, appalled. He didn't do anything to you. He does the laundry. The young wizard looked confused for a moment, then dismissed it. I don't know what kind of hold he has over you, but if you know what's good for you, you'll run. I don't know. I've changed his voice too many times, but it's fine. That's the young wizard's voice now. This is between me and the dark wizard. Grr Beetle was still alive, but gasping. Greenish blood bubbled up from his mouth. Gav laid him gently on the floor. Oh, is it? He said, his voice full of menace. Gavrax, the princess said. What? You're gonna beg for this one's life too? He didn't take his gaze off the boy, who was now looking a good deal paler and less sure of himself. While poor Grr Beetle bleeds away on the floor for the crime of pressing my shirts? The hero continued to look baffled. Stop messing with vermin and fight me! Gav, she said again, softer. You're not him. The boy tried another wind incantation, and Gav blocked it without thinking. The young wizard grabbed something out of his bag, and suddenly a bolt of lightning blasted Gav, catching his side. That hurt. A lot. He threw up a full shield over himself and Grr Beetle before the next bolt came. The lightning splashed across the shield, but wore the surface off. It wouldn't hold against many more of those. The boy was holding a wand, and Gav was willing to bet it was another gift from Urtharno, who seemed to have it in for Gavrax. He pushed the shield forward, trying to advance despite the barrage of lightning that made it hard to see. Would the shield last until he could close the distance? He couldn't hold it and cast an attack of his own. He'd need to time it perfectly. And suddenly, the lightning stopped. He blinked away the afterimages. The boy was on the floor, unconscious. Eliasha stood behind him, a makeshift weapon made from a bag of sand scooped from the firefighting buckets dangling from her hand. He blinked at her, his eyes still watering. You could have taken the rescue. I can't leave anyway, she said, looking a little surprised at herself. And he shouldn't have hurt Grr Beetle. That reminded him. He gasped a little and hurried to the pitiful form on the floor. Grr Beetle was still breathing, but it was shallower. There had to be something he could do. He grabbed the goblin's claw, which felt terribly cool. Stay with me, little friend, he said softly, racking his brain. There was something. The green lozenge in that one little silver box, he said. Alyosha stared at him. Hurry! She dove toward the corner he'd pointed at. It took longer than he would have liked, as Grr Beetle's breathing hitched. But there she was, fumbling the lozenge out of the box. Bite this, he said, wedging it between Grr Beetle's teeth, loosening his jaws. Please. It was too late. The goblin couldn't hear him. Gav grabbed his jaw and shoved it closed. The capsule shattered, and a wisp of green smoke escaped before it was sucked gently into the goblin's nostril by the last shallow breath. The effect was immediate. Grr Beetle's back arched. The bird skull was ejected so forcibly it hit the ceiling and shattered. He writhed on the ground, whimpering, with a clenched jaw. And then suddenly he stopped. Gav held his breath. The little goblin's eyes blinked once, twice. He raised a shaky claw, probing at his exposed but suddenly very much whole stomach. That was amazing, breathed Alyosha. Yeah, said Gav, also staring in wonder. That was the only lozenge. He nodded. Yeah. She thought for a minute. But you can make more. He shook his head. No, I don't think so. She gave him a look he didn't know how to read. Throck thundered in, followed by several more guards. They skidded to a stop. How many did we lose? Gav asked quietly. That wasn't the question they'd been expecting. 2? Gav closed his eyes. There would be more. More heroes, more deaths, unless he chose to do something. He stood. Take him to the dungeons, he said, gesturing at the unconscious wizard. Search him first, very thoroughly. Actually, just strip him completely. I'll deal with him later. So this was the part that I was reading the other day when I was getting all squirmy and anxious, and I was like, I swear to God, I thought I was reading a light and fluffy book, and I earned a light and fluffy book after Here There Are Monsters and The Nightingale. I needed this to be light and fluffy, and then Caitlin Rozakis comes in and is like, you like Grr Beetle? Isn't he cute? Isn't he wonderful? Isn't he kind of awkward? And like, you know, he's just trying to impress Gav and all that kind of stuff. What if I almost killed him? And I'm like, I swear to God, bitch, if you fucking do anything to any more of these goblins, I will fight you. I will lose my shit. I was so scared. I was like, I'm so glad Grr Beetle survived, but I'm also like, don't you ever fucking do that again, Caitlin Rozakis. I cannot handle it. But like, if anything were to happen to Orla or Grr Beetle,
it's gonna happen again. No, it's gonna happen again.
No, don't fucking say that.
It will.
I'm also nervous that was the only lozenge because it seems like for whatever reason Gav can't make anymore.
Is it lozenge?
Is it lozenge?
Lozenge?
Not a lozenge?
No, that sounds... Although it may be French. Hold on.
Lozenge. God damn it.
But
that's the American pronunciation. What's the British pronunciation?
Who cares about the British?
Lozenge.
It's the same.
Fuck off. Whatever. I don't know how to read, okay?
That confused me. I was like, what is... she trying to
I've
say?
heard of the... what is a lozenge, then? I've heard of a lozenge.
It sounds like it's a clothing item.
Okay, whatever. Do you want me to go back and reread it?
No.
So I'm also nervous that was the only lozenge. I don't like that. I thought it was lozenge. Anyways, because it seemed like Gav can't make anymore, and that feels like a setup for somebody else dying later. Someone who could have been saved but won't be.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what if it's the princess? What if it's Gav? Or, in a more fun twist, what if it's Zarkanar? That'd be funny. That'd be really funny.
No, I feel like this was Gav's last resort type item.
Yeah.
I don't know why I stopped every second or so.
Mm-hmm. Anyways.
Lozenge.
Sorry.
Losange.
Losange! It is French. Losange.
But is it spelled differently? If it's French? I'm pretty sure it is.
Shut the fuck up.
Losange.
I'm right, though.
No.
Lozenge sounds so stupid. So even though it might be correct, it's wrong. So, The first of many heroes attacked Gav and critically injured Grobito, leaving Gav angry and on a mission to regain control. To start his mission of regaining control of this wildly out of control situation, he decided to go to Terwin to cancel the Garlic Festival. He's like, we can't do that. It was just so overwhelming, and honestly, he was worried for the safety of the villagers, what with the heroes and the dark wizards, all of them descending upon the castle at once. Stepping out of the castle felt like walking out of one story and into a different one. The cloudless blue sky felt like more color than his eyes could bear. Everything was limned in gold by slanting light. He glanced back at the castle. It had been made for midnight and thunderstorms. In the warm glow, without even a hint of humidity to blur its flaws, the keep looked like a badly conceived toy, or a prop in a play. The gorgeous light did not do the village many favors either. Gav had hoped that things looked worse from above than they actually were, but no. The houses closest to the castle had progressed past shoddy, lingered for a bit around ramshackle, and then started edging towards squalid. He strolled down the dusty road through the center of the village, trying to look at ease. As he approached the square, he had a moment where he remained unobserved. Visiting on foot did not seem like a Gavrax thing to do, he realized rather too late. He should have had the mayor summoned. It hadn't occurred to him. Nothing ever seemed to occur to him in a reasonable amount of time, but it gave him a chance to see the village in its natural state. The village didn't have much in the way of a square, but even he could see the massive alteration that had taken place since the last time he'd glanced down from on high. Bunting that had clearly once been bedsheets draped across the lintels of houses. Mismatched tables stood in a line, and a pair of young women industriously tacked bundles of rushes along the fronts to form booths. A few men argued, waving the hammers they clutched perilously near each other's heads over how to continue the half-built stage. His eyes narrowed. He had expected them to look more alike, for a relatively large village. Either more of Eliash's stamp pale skin with the straight pale hair to match, or of Mayor Terwin's with brown skin and dark clouds of hair. Instead, they looked like mismatched dolls, carved of whatever came to hand, from alabaster to mahogany, and with the hair of every shade, including one odd green. Some were blessed with surprising combinations. Hair and skin tones he wouldn't have thought would pair together until he saw them embodied in the same person, the same familial nose on multiple faces of varying shades. Because that's what they were, he realized. Families. They did match in their faded clothing, their desperate hope, poverty and ingenuity and pride, and tacky bunting. They were trying so hard. It was touching. He felt bad telling them to pack it all up, but it wasn't worth their lives to cry over spilled paint. It was easy to tell when they noticed him. All work suddenly ground to a halt, except for one stage builder gesticulating with his back to Gav, who took the sudden cowed silence of his opponent as a sign of victory and reason to explain his point in even greater and louder detail. Gav could have cleared his throat, but he was curious. The man continued for a solid 10 seconds more before his opponent kicked him in the shin, and he noticed where everyone's eyes pointed. He half-turned, his own eyes widened, and he dropped his hammer on his foot. He winced, but manfully choked down whatever curse came to his lips. When Gav did not immediately bring forth a list of demands, Mayor Terwin stepped up. She wore a dress rather grubbier than the one she'd worn to the castle, and one hand was full of checklists, but the iron braids and the iron gaze were just as he remembered. "Can we help you, my lord?" Terwin asked. He licked his lips and opened his mouth. Every eye was fastened on him. No words came out. How could he break it to them that they were about to be invaded both by dark wizards who would see them as nothing but test subjects and good heroes who would see them as nothing but obstacles? And it was very much all his fault. He had no idea how they would react. Would there be screaming and crying? Would they finally discover a backbone and attack him? He was a coward. There was no way around it, and he was pretty sure he could live with that. Fundamentally, brave people didn't become dark wizards. "A word with you," he said, trying to look haughty and unconcerned. Mayor Terwin had the kindness, or the self-preservation, not to raise an eyebrow. She just nodded and turned. He stumbled along in her wake, a drunken baby duckling. He wasn't sure where it was he'd expected her to take him, but it wasn't her house. Of course, the village wasn't big enough for a proper town hall, he'd realized, as he ducked his head to enter the little stone cottage. No weeds would ever dare grow up against the outer walls. Inside, the bare floor squeaked with cleanliness. The one-room cottage was positively monastic, without so much as a rag rug on the floor, except for the fluffiest pink quilt he could imagine on the bed. The edges had been appliqued with an assortment of colorful owls. Orla would have been delighted. The mayor turned, resolutely ignoring the floofy mess undercutting her stern image. Now there was the raised eyebrow he'd been waiting for. He swallowed. "I'm afraid we have to call off the festival." Her face stilled. He could tell from the absolute lack of expression she was warring with herself over whether to fight or to comply. I don't understand, she settled on. Are the preparations not to your liking? He didn't need to explain. He was her lord. He had to just order and she ought to jump to follow his instructions. But she'd need to know anyway, wouldn't she, to prepare? They look great, he said. Well, great might have been stretching things a bit. Actually, he couldn't really imagine anyone coming from very far away to look at some bed sheets, let alone spending much in the way of money on a bad harvest year. It's not that. It's just, we've planned activities, she added quickly. Pony rides. Well, pony. Well, actually, just a donkey, but children can ride him. Games. Guess the number of cloves in the garlic bulb. Toss the garlic bulb through the hoop. Spin the garlic bulb. I'm told such things are fun. We'd thought about a kissing booth, but thought it would be a problem with the garlic breath, so we were trying to figure out some way to get people to pay not to be kissed without being, well, horrible. We're still working on that one. We're putting together a garlic costume, a giant bulb of garlic to greet people. We'll have a dunk tank. I'm willing to take a turn, and I don't suppose... No, never mind. I'll just take 2 turns. She rushed on, completely misinterpreting whatever expression had plastered itself across Gav's face.
I want to pause here for a moment.
Yeah.
I'm loving this passage because it's really showing like the character of the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Like this really super meticulous by the book. Doesn't actually know what fun is.
Yes.
But it's like, I've heard this. Yeah.
I've heard that this is fun.
I'm loving this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think you're going to love it even more. I am obsessed with Mayor Turwin. I want to be Mayor Turwin. Oh my God, she's so funny. And she's not even trying to be. She's just like, I've heard this is fun. We will have a good time.
Fun will be had.
So I think one of the reasons why I've also been having a hard time reading this book and having time and making time to read this book is that I didn't do this with Here There Are Monsters, but with The Nightingale, I had both the audiobook and my Kindle version of the book. With this, I also have the audiobook and my Kindle version, and I actually have a physical copy of it, but I just can't stand the audiobook of this, and I feel really bad. Yeah, I feel like it's really unfortunate when you don't like the audiobook, but I can't stand it. And one of the reasons I can't stand it is that the voice that he does for Mayor Turwin is like this very like erratic sounding person. And I'm like, she's always described as being very stoic. I wouldn't make her sound like erratic and like scatterbrained. She's not. She's very meticulous, like you were saying, and very like well organized and trying, and like she's pulling this together in a week, and I'm like, that sounds like a lot to have pulled together in a week. That's amazing. So I don't know, that's one of my beefs with it, but anyways, yeah, so she's like, we've got pony rides. I mean, a pony, well, a donkey, but like kids can ride him. It's so great. I love it. That all sounds wonderful, he finally managed to wedge in, but that's not the problem. It's the advertising, isn't it? I've thought about it, and I let the traveling minstrels know, so they should already be telling people, we're about to be invaded. That cut through the feverish planning. By whom? King Barabano's Legion of Heroes, he said, rubbing his temples. He's posting a reward to get his daughter back. Well then, she said, looking thoughtful. That could take care of the advertising problem. They'll come right to us. We'll sell them some garlic and keep them entertained while they do their usual skulking around, gathering intelligence. Then, she swallowed and looked at him straight in the eye. With your permission, of course, my lord. We can duck into the castle walls before you unleash whatever you have planned. There aren't that many of us all told. He didn't have the heart, or rather, the courage, to tell her that he currently didn't have anything planned. There was a more immediate problem, anyway. You aren't going to want to be in there, I'm afraid, he said. Because at that same time, I'm going to be hosting some, guests? She gave him that same blank look. He looked back, unsure of what was going on behind those shuttered eyes. Finally, she shook her head. All right, I know what it means when the ominous pause is before hosting, but I'm afraid I'm just not following your innuendo for guests. Unless you're planning to kidnap another village worth of people. He couldn't feed the village worth of people he already had. He had no idea what he'd do with another one. Rather fewer, but more problematic. We are about to be hosts to something of a dark wizard convocation. Her eyes actually widened at that. Not a lot, just a fraction, but it was more of a flinch than he'd gotten from her to date. How many wizards are we talking about? She asked after another pause to consider. 3, he answered, feeling on solid ground for the first time in this conversation.
It's definitely 3.
There's definitely going to be 3 of them. At least this answer he knew. And their retinues. Are they likely to take test subjects from the village? I intend to tell them that the village is off limits. Well, she said, almost more to herself than to him. That's just perfect.
Oh, she's like, plans!
I know, he commiserated. I mean, what were the chances of all of this happening at the same time? We couldn't have asked for better, she said, her features slowly lighting up. What? I'll call the troubadours back and send them over the border, she said. They've got just enough time to make it to King Aldemon's court. They've always been envious of our local magic. I'm sure we'll be able to get at least a dozen of the minor nobles and their attendants to sneak across the border for a chance to brush elbows with not one, but 4 genuine dark wizards. Wait, what? When had this started to slide out of control?
He's like, hold on. Am I part of another theocracy? I think that's the word I'm looking for, the governance I'm looking for.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know any.
Well, he's a lord. He's got to be part of another nation.
But he's under King Barabano's rule, I think, because Velevna had said, oh, I'm starting to like your king more, meaning that Velevna is not part of the same kingdom, I guess. And so then King Aldemon is a different king, so he's a different country, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he must be near the border. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really that important.
Yeah, but I like political things. Like, political intrigue is so fun, and we haven't had that aspect. But now, the mayor's thinking about it. She's like, oh, this is perfect.
I love the mayor. She's great. Wait, what? When had this started to slide out of control? The answer to the problem had been very obvious. And yet Terwin, by all measures a very rational person, had landed on an answer involving to the least bit of running away. Gav wanted to run away. Why was she not going with the running away option? I said I'd tell them the villagers were off limits, but we both know how well people listen. We'll end up getting someone turned into a toad, or a living slip of fire, or eaten by a wizard's demon horse or something. All the better, Terwin said. A little danger always brings a better crowd. But what? People are stupid, she said, and they like a taste of adventure. They don't think anything bad could happen to them. You're going to take this in stride, said Gav, aghast. A simultaneous horde of do-gooders and mercenaries and a sudden quadrupling of dark wizards? And a garlic festival, Terwin reminded him.
Don't forget about our garlic festival.
It's the most important part.
We're going to make so much money.
It's going to be so good. Do you understand how many people are going to be flocking to this city? Oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my God, I love Terwin.
They're going to be flocking to our hovel.
And they are going to want garlic, okay? We will sell them garlic.
And not a pony rides.
And not a kissing booth.
Give me money or I will kiss you. I love it.
I love it. Oh. Sorry, I gotta stop laughing. Whew. And a garlic festival, Terwin reminded him. That's what I mean! You're taking impassive beyond stoic and into a death wish! She gave the tiniest hint of a sigh, with a twitch of an eyebrow that made him feel like a disappointing student. My lord, do you know how many dark wizards have occupied that castle? He blinked at the non sequitur. He'd known, of course, that he hadn't built the castle himself. There were the creepy portraits, for one thing, but he hadn't had the chance to think much about his predecessors. He had the shreds of memory of defeating the previous occupant, but he hadn't thought farther back than that. That would explain the variety of handwriting on the notes in his study, and perhaps some of the worst design choices, and maybe also why his castle was staffed by idiot goblins instead of idiot humans. It might say something about the surprising variation in the villagers' looks as well. Generations of wizards from across the continent, each trailing servants, hostages, lovers, children, experiments, an infusion of new blood. Not exactly, no. 43 1/3, said Terwin, since we started keeping records. And a third? Gav asked. Deshla the Restless got sliced into 3 by the cloud of swords summoned by Istal del Fiargo. Her left arm alone managed to take and hold the castle for 4 days before one of the local paladins managed to set it on fire, Terwin recited. The arm, not the castle. Ah, said Gav, suddenly realizing how he was going to die. Not when. None of them knew when, but he was the latest in a long parade, and that most likely meant he would not be the last. A Terwin has been mayor here for generations, she reminded him. We've seen everything there is to see. So you don't care anymore? Was that what happened to him? If you knew too much, did you cease to care? No, of course I care, she said, still stoic, but there's no point in making a fuss.
You're making a fuss, my lord.
She's basically being like, calm the fuck down. This could be turned to our advantage and you are not taking that opportunity. So I need you to sit down and calm down. He sat with that for a minute, looking at the owls on the bedspread and wondering if he'd seen them before. "You really think this might work?" he asked softly. "I'm open to other ideas," Terwin replied. "If there are ones that involve us not abandoning our homes and what crops we've managed to salvage to be refugees on the edge of winter." "It might be safer," he warned. "We've survived worse," she said. "How?" "Oh, most of us didn't. There's always lots of running and screaming and being turned into monsters. But some make it." "Why do you stay here?" "Well, folks have tried leaving en masse 3 times. The resident dark wizard doesn't usually like that much. But trickling off one at a time?" She shrugged. "It happens. It's hard to find a new home if people know where you come from. And we don't all blend in with the surrounding villages. But when they do succeed in leaving, well, dark wizards aren't the only ones who get invaded or who pull folks out of the village when they get bored. In the end, there's always running and screaming or starving and weeping. You spend enough time running and screaming and starving and weeping, growing some claws and eating a few adventurers starts to look like it's not so bad." "You stay because I'm your monster?" he said slowly. "More or less," she said. "Now, we're going to need someone in the garlic suit." I love how she's trying to be so practical. "So this garlic festival is not being canceled. Thank you very much. Who can we put in the garlic suit?"
Let's put the princess in the garlic suit.
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. I was thinking at first, like, is she asking Gavrax to go in the garlic suit?
That's how he's going to take it, but it's probably going to end up being a goblin.
Ian, I need you to just let me read this.
Even better. It might be Chicken Man.
Oh, Fiari?
Yeah.
"Now, we're going to need someone in the garlic suit." He tried to picture a goblin in the garlic suit. Would anyone be able to tell? "Not a goblin," she said.
Aww. She thought she saw the gears turning in his head.
And she's like, "No."
"Not a goblin." I was like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah. I don't think you're ready for the next sentence, though.
Oh, I'm ready.
"Sirocco would love to do it," he said. You know, the sniveling steward that he loves to pick on.
Send Sirocco down to be miserable. He knows exactly what Sirocco's purpose is.
Exactly.
His purpose is to be miserable.
I'm fucking dead. It's so funny. Terwin's lips looked as if they had heard of this thing called smiling and briefly considered it before rejecting the plan as too ostentatious. "Perfect," she said. "We'll send up for his measurements." So I really liked this interaction between the two of them. I thought, first of all, just like their extremes of him being so dramatic and her being so stoic is so funny. I love juxtapositions. I love when there's those clash of things. It's why I think that like height differences are so funny between people, or just like that personality difference of she is just unwavering calm and he is just flying off the handle at everything.
It's like dark wizard shenanigans. She's like, "I'm used to dark wizard shenanigans and paladins and adventurers," but he might have been used to that at some point, but he has forgotten. So he just takes everything as really scary, even though he was part of that really scary for a long time.
I wonder if Gav and Terwin might be the ones who fall in love, if there is a love story in this. I don't even know if there is, but I hope there is, because we've been talking and speculating that maybe he and the princess will fall in love, because he'll have these moments where he's like, "I really want the princess to like me," and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I found their age gap to be really weird, because I'm thinking of him as being like in his 40s, and I'm expecting her to be in her early 20s, if even. So like that's been weird for me.
Yeah.
But Terwin is closer to him in age, and she, like I said, is so stoic. She strangles her emotions. She doesn't let anything faze her. And the two of them just are always kind of like awkwardly interacting, and he definitely respects her. And he, like, from the moment he met her, he's like, "I like this one."
Yeah. I just had a thought cross my mind. Does he still have the squid hickeys all over his face?
No, I think it's been a few days.
Yeah. I was thinking that they didn't talk about it again after that as a continued problem.
Right.
So I figured they just dropped it, but I thought in my head it'd be funny if he was just in town with a bunch of
squid hickeys
all over his face.
That would be really funny. I think it's been, I don't want to say it's been a week, but because all of this has been going on like in a matter of days, to be perfectly honest. So I bet they're still there. They just haven't mentioned them. I don't know. Regardless of if they fall in love or not, I think the two of them make a really great team. And I'm here for their friendship, their camaraderie, hopefully their love story. I think the two of them being in love would be really cute.
Yeah, I think so too.
So Gav goes back to the castle feeling very confused because he was like, how are we still hosting a garlic festival at the end of this? I thought I was calling off the garlic festival just so I had one fewer thing to like worry about.
Don't worry about the villagers, my lord.
He's kind of dejected, but mostly he's just very, very worried. He was not nearly as confident as Turbin was about, this plan not going sideways. He spends a lot of time in his study trying to figure out more about what his plan with Zarkanar was supposed to be, and he starts musing about what it must mean to be a good person because he knows he's not a good person, and that he likely will never be a good person because he's too selfish and too cowardly for that. He doesn't really care about other people other than a select few. He wouldn't endanger his own life to protect other people. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. But at the same time, he's like, I'm not straight up evil. Like, I don't want to cause anybody harm just for the hell of it. Yes, I'm very tempted to incinerate people at all times because I get angry, but like I don't genuinely like want to harm the princess. I don't want anything to happen to Orla or Grabitel. Maybe Sirocco. I don't really know about him, but like, for the most part, he's like, I've got this select few people that I care about and I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but I also don't know if I would risk my own neck to save any of them. So where does that leave him? Not a hero, not a villain, a failure then? Too wishy-washy to choose a side?
It leaves him in self-discovery.
He set aside the wine and fanned the papers out in front of him once more. Dragon's tears, something to do with the daughter of a king, the seed of the lesser lords of hell, all clearly meant to summon or bargain with or bind a major demon. Most likely one or two more components unless Zarkanar himself planned not to bring anything. And that would be just like him, Gav thought with rising giddiness. He probably wouldn't even bring a nice host gift when he came. Thank you note seemed right out. Was that it? A pile of ingredients in exchange for... what? Absolute power? It seemed like Zarkanar's kind of thing. Had Zarkanar told them everything? He doubted it. Velevna doubted it too. But how much did it matter? If a powerful wizard threatened to take over the world and offered you a chance to help and reap the benefits, or just not... well, one could hope a convenient hero would show up in time to stop him. But if choosing between being the conqueror or the conquered, he knew how most dark wizards would choose. How most people in general would choose, really. He just didn't have the knowledge he needed. Somewhere, he was sure, there existed a document laying out whatever ritual Zarkanar was feeding them in bits and pieces. It was, he realized, the sort of thing one might try to consult a knowledge demon to learn, especially if one was arrogant enough to think that one could outwit such a creature. It seemed some of Gavrax's more inexplicable decisions did make sense, just not the sense that he liked. He considered throwing something, remembered how that had gone the last time, and chose to just kick the wall instead, so the only damaged thing was himself. He was terrible at this. No wonder the other wizards had no respect for him. He was useless, and he was going to die horribly in a disaster of his own making. And the worst part was he was never going to even know why. The mirror was lighting up again. He gave serious thought to just smashing a chair across its surface, but with his luck, that would release a backlash of magical energies and fry him to a crisp. He could pretend not to be there. There was probably some way to tell. He couldn't imagine Zarkanar being willing to call and not get an answer. Then again, it might not be Zarkanar. He checked the bottom of the frame. It was Zarkanar. He fantasized briefly about jumping out the window, limping away, and becoming a traveling bard despite no memory of having ever held a lute. He answered the mirror. "It's late," he said. "Keeping daylight hours," Zarkanar said. "How quaint." "I assume you didn't call to be pleasant," Gav said, trying to brazen it out yet again. "Or unpleasant, as the case may be." "I understand that our Tharno has gotten involved," Zarkanar said, cutting to his point. "I have it under control." Possibly the biggest lie he'd ever spoken. But he didn't need much in the way of memory to know that literally nothing good for him could come from Zarkanar getting involved. The other wizard narrowed his eyes. The whites vanished, and his eyes nearly disappeared into his face, visible only from the faint shine of wetness. "Where one hero fails, another springs up in his place. We do not need any interference right now." "I took care of one. I can take care of more."
Killing one hero does not mean you can handle a meddler of Artharno's caliber. Sanctimonious bitch obsessed with her own righteousness, said Zarkanar. Gav shifted uncomfortably. Zarkanar sounded all too similar to the little voice in the back of his own head when he thought about the princess. You couldn't handle her before you lost your memories. You certainly can't now.
Oh no, how do you figure it out?
The words caught up with him and he froze. His mind, his body, he was trapped in ice. He couldn't think, he couldn't breathe. Was it a spell? No, just his own shock and bowel-watering terror. The edge of Zarkanar's mouth curled up. Did you really think you'd hidden that? Adorable. Like a toddler convinced his mother had no idea he took the cookie. Every muscle in his sternum had tightened, like a vice around his lungs, making it impossible for them to expand. He tried to suck air through a constricted throat, betrayed by his mind, now betrayed by his body. What if his heart had stopped? Could your heart stop from sheer panic? Pathetic. Zarkanar leaned back and glanced to the side, already bored with Gav's distress. Briefly freed from Zarkanar's direct gaze, Gav managed to suck in a lungful of air. His head swam and the room spun around him. And you thought you were so clever, too. I'm sure, digging up that summoning ritual, a way to find out more than I had told you. Did you ever think to question how easily you found Estagath's name? Ah, of course, how insensitive of me. You don't remember. He managed to choke out. He underestimated Gavrak's arrogance and his stupidity. Zarkanar must have laughed himself sick as Gavrax eagerly rushed into the trap. But Zarkanar's attention was already focused on something else more interesting than gloating. Next to him sat a small urn, no taller than a hand's width, unadorned. The other wizard unscrewed the cap easily with one hand and set it aside. He scooped a bit of the dark gray powder and let it trickle through his fingers. Ah, I see. You did question it. You just chose to go through with the ritual anyway, because you assumed you were clever enough to handle the knowledge demon. Smarter than I'd given you credit for, but not as smart as you thought you were. And so Zarkanar had neatly diffused whatever small threat Gavrax had represented, while keeping a helpless patsy do his bidding. Gav watched him continue to swirl the grains, panic giving way to a more deep-seated dread. Are those your memories? Yes. Zarkanar smiled at him, teeth gleaming. You seem to have a habit of thinking you can think for yourself. Like the time you... Well, perhaps we'll discuss that later. It needs to stop. If you behave yourself and follow your instructions, perhaps you can be trusted to have these back. Otherwise... He raised a finger, a few grains clinging. His tongue flashed out obscenely pink. Ah, your first kiss. How lucky for me. You'll miss that one, I think. Not that it was much to gloat over. She certainly didn't seem to enjoy the experience. But either way, it's mine now. Gav's eyes were locked on that finger. I doubt I'll bother consuming the rest, Zarkanar continued. You've had a sad little life and a sad little mind. I'll most likely burn them, or, in the extremely unlikely case that you were managed to thwart me, well, then I suppose you will just never find them. He looked up suddenly, straight into Gav's eyes, and Gav found himself pinned to his chair by sheer force. You will report any move by Artharno immediately. If you see a single lock of a hero's hair, I want to know the length and shade. And I don't think I need to tell you what will happen if you try to betray me. Gav shook his head silently. Good. Zarkanar leaned back. You may continue to play your little games with the princess, I suppose. Velevna tells me you're toying with the girl. All well and good, as long as she remains a virgin. I won't have you wrecking out our spell components. Gav swallowed with difficulty. If I can't remember, how am I supposed to know? From now on, I decide what you need to know, Zarkanar said, eyes narrowing once more. And you don't need to know more than that. Mess with her mind all you want, but leave her body alone, or your memories will be the least of your worries. The mirror winked out. Had he thought once that he could outplay Zarkanar? Or had he been more like Velevna, cooperating lest he be left out? All he really knew was that he was every bit the fool that Zarkanar thought him to be.
That is a rough chapter for our guy.
Yeah, it's such an interesting turn too. It's so weird to me because this book so far has been really funny and humorous, and we've all been like, "Oh, it's so lighthearted and da 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 da." But then, like, I don't know, I got this like almost like secondhand embarrassment when reading this scene where it was so painful that like Gav doesn't know what Gavrax was like, right? And we don't really, and we've seen like little hints about what he was supposedly like, but we don't know why he was ever doing any of the things that he was doing. And so now we can kind of figure out that he was trying to see what this plan, like he probably already didn't know what the plan with Zarkanar was. And he was just trying to figure it out. And yeah, maybe outsmart him, maybe do something, you know, we don't really know, but it hurts because we've gotten to kind of like Gav and he's been trying to, you know, be better and do good and things like that. But like it's like he's being punished for something that he doesn't even know anything about now. And that's just really sad.
I felt that scene was very good because this whole time Gab has been like really nervous and like anxious about everything, and now we're coming to the reader is now coming to the realization that he was right to be this nervous and whatnot, because all he knew is this guy's bad news just from a gut feeling, and then he was like, oh, I was played before I even knew what was going on.
Right. It just, oh my gosh, it's so interesting too. I think it's important to point out that we're not quite at the halfway point of the book. The book only has 20 chapters and this was chapter 8. So I think hopefully we're going to start getting some answers, and we are going to hopefully start to see some movement as far as like a week can only last so long in the book. I'm sure we could drag it out and have like one chapter to represent every day. But like at that point, by chapter, I don't know, 13 maybe is when this ritual is going to be coming to a head, I would imagine, at the latest. So there's a lot that's going on and a lot that can happen, and I don't know if I know where this story is going.
Well, they've set it up to be very interesting and to have a lot of things happen at the same time. So I feel like the day of the ritual, it's going to be a lot of chapters because so much is going on.
Yeah. So that's about where I'm at in the book.
It's a pretty decent spot.
Did you learn anything today?
I learned that our mayor has a beautiful fluffy pink duvet.
It's like a quilt, it sounds like.
Yeah. Beautiful pink quilt with owls on it.
Yes. I love Mayor Terwin so much. I learned that there are several kinds of RPGs, but their classification needs some work because it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, and I'll give you the classification for romance RPGs. They're generally called dating simulators.
So they don't even have RPG in their title?
Nope.
Then I hate it. Okay. Where can people find us?
They can find us on Facebook.
At A Pot of Sass and Sarcasm.
They can follow us on Instagram.
At A Pot of Sass.
They can send us an email.
At apotofsass@gmail.com.
Or, if they're feeling up to it, donate to our Patreon.
Patreon.com/A Pot of Sass and Sarcasm, where you can get exclusive access to the blooper reels, because this particular season has been so funny and I've been messing up my words so often and we've been having a really good time. So if you want to listen to the funnier parts of this book, as in the funnier parts of me not being able to read, head on over to the Patreon. Also, be on the lookout, because it's not up and running yet, but maybe by the time that this episode's released, who knows? I don't know how anything works in the future, but anyways, we might have ourselves a website coming out. So be on the lookout for that. I don't know what it's going to be called yet, so I can't tell you that, but be on the lookout for it.
Website is being worked on.
Yes. And you can listen to new episodes on Saturdays wherever you find podcasts. So please rate, review, and share. It really, really helps us out. We are loving this influx of new listeners. So please, please, please keep it up for us. We really appreciate it. And it really helps us get out there so that more people can listen to us and have, hopefully, a good time with us. So thank you so much for listening.
Hope you keep listening.
And we hope you stay sassy.
Later.
It took longer than he would have liked as Gurabeetle's breathing hitched. But there she was, fumbling in the
Fumbling in the lasagna.